Okay, you're wondering what it's like living in San Diego if you're coming from New York, whether the city or the state. Well, I've lived in both places and I grew up in New York, so I'm gonna give you the full scoop on what the biggest differences are, what the biggest concerns are, and some things that might cause you not to move to San Diego. And I'm gonna get after it right now. What's up everyone, my name is Cameron Hodge, and on this channel I cover everything about moving and living here in San Diego. And while I love dropping videos every Tuesday and Thursday for you, I love even more being a licensed real estate agent here in California, helping you make your real estate decisions when moving to San Diego, and I absolutely love it. This number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me to help you make the move to San Diego with your real estate decisions. Alright, so getting into it. What's it like living in New York State and versus San Diego, or even the city? I think the city is probably a more common one that people are going to have when it comes to moving to the area. I will tell you that I grew up the first 19 years of my life in Western New York, about an hour east of Buffalo. I've been to New York City. I've hopped a lot of different places around the state, so I have a good grasp of like the biggest differences. I've also had clients from New York City, so I can talk a lot about what the biggest differences are. And so to give you a quick backstory, I came out here in the military, the Marine Corps, in 2014 is when I finally stepped foot in San Diego, and I've learned a lot in that time, and a lot of the biggest differences, things I like, things I don't like, and I'm gonna get into it right now. So the biggest thing obviously you're gonna enjoy is the weather. I mean, so you're in New York, you're obviously gonna be used to snow and things like that. Well, I will tell you that obviously it's a Saturday here in San Diego. It's about 6 p.m. and this is your normal April weather. It is beautiful. It is 70 degrees outside and is barely a light breeze. And literally every single day is what I like to call. So if you grew up in, like, obviously in the country of New York, you're gonna know it's bonfire night every single night in California. It just is. And really there isn't too much concern. The rain is very little compared to what you're used to. I will say, you know, going in on the weather, one of the things that I was kind of upset with when I came out here was not really having a fall. So if you grew up in New York, like, one of the things is obviously there's so many festivals and different things that go on during the fall, and it's kind of saddening to come somewhere. It's great, don't get me wrong, like, it's awesome, like, the weather's great all the time, it's sunny, but there is no difference in weather. So there's no different change in the weather. Like, it cools off during the winter. I will say, like, my favorite time in San Diego is late fall, early winter, because the weather cools off. It's like 70 every day for a high at the lowest point, and it starts to kind of feel like you can put a sweatshirt on and kind of enjoy it. But not having like the change of leaves and stuff like that, like, it's kind of saddening. Like, it's something I think I really miss from New York State, is not having that fall change of weather. Or like, whether you're in New York City and you can go up to the northeast, or even if you're from the upstate New York, and just the changing of weather and the sports and stuff like that. Like, San Diego has it, it's just not as big of a change. Also, to finish on that weather piece, one thing I will tell you is when you're gonna come here, you're gonna see everyone's like such a baby when it comes to the cold weather, and you're gonna be like, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, it's so hot. Like, you know, in New York it'll be 40 and we're wearing shorts. So it's one of those things where you definitely get used to it. I will tell you though, after living here for a while, you do become more of a baby when it comes to cold weather. It will happen. I don't care who you are, you will eventually succumb to being used to California weather, and you will look at going home to New York like, oh man, it never leaves you. But you do get a little bit softer when it comes to dealing with that cold weather, because we just don't have it here. Now, you can drive like an hour and a half north to the mountains and get some snow. It's really not that much snow though, guys. Like, sometimes they will get big snowstorms, but I will tell you, overall through the winter season, it's not that much snow, and they freak out about it for nothing. Also, when you come here and it comes to driving in rainy weather, Californians are some of the worst drivers I've seen when it comes to rainy weather. So, like, I just try not to drive if I don't have to when it rains, because people just lose their freaking mind. And if you're from New York, you understand, like, you have to be a good driver between the sleet, the snow, and stuff like that. And you come out here, and yeah, people just don't have that inclement weather driving experience to deal with. The next thing I want to talk about is like laws and taxes and costs. So if you're coming from New York City, I will tell you, a lot of it's gonna be pretty similar. To be honest with you, coming from like the center of New York City, like Manhattan and stuff like that, obviously San Diego is gonna be cheaper on a lot of things. You do have the ability to get a lot more for your money in certain areas than you would in like the city living. But if you're coming from the country of New York, yeah, I mean, obviously the cost and how expensive everything is out here is going to blow you away, but not as much as you think. Like taxes, utilities, like stuff like that. Like, I'll be honest with you, some things don't surprise me as much as it did growing up in New York State. Like, if you're coming from the South, yeah, it blows you away. But coming from even in the country of New York, utilities were so decently high, property taxes, let's say heating costs during the winter, and things like that. Like, it translates pretty well to San Diego, believe it or not. But the cool thing about moving here, aside from cost, is like you can still find deals here and there, and stuff like that. I will tell you though, like if you're used to like food and stuff in the city of New York, yeah, you're just not gonna have that here. So in San Diego, a lot of people actually get pretty disappointed. Is like you come from New York City, and like the food is just, it's not there. Or even if you're from like Buffalo with like wings and like garbage plates and Rochester and stuff like that, yeah, they don't have that here. They don't even know what a chicken finger sub is. So, it's just, the food's different. It's just a different culture, different type of thing. But the Mexican food is amazing. You cannot contest that. No one's going to change my mind on it. It blows your mind of how much better it is being here and getting to taste that food. But yeah, you're going to miss a lot of things like clams and stuff like that, like that shellfish and seafood from the Atlantic. Yeah, you're just not going to have that here. And if you do get it, it's crappy and pretty small and not so great, to be honest with you. Mexican food's great. There are a lot of different cultures and food here, but coming from like if you're coming from New York City, yeah, no way. Like obviously in New York City, you have way more options for food, and families have been doing it for like 100 years. Here in San Diego, like there are some older restaurants. COVID hit a lot of them pretty hard, but you're just not gonna find that as heavily as you would in like New York City and stuff like that. Or what they call wings and pizza out here. Like there's good ones here and there, but it's not what you find in New York. There's just no way like a small town, like the worst pizza shop in New York State is gonna be better than most of the best ones here in San Diego, and that's just a fact. You gotta live with it. It is what it is. I tell you, it pushes me to make my own pizza at home more than anything. So hey, if you like to cook pizza at home, then hey, maybe it's your time to, if you're moving out here, to learn and just start improving on that. Now, moving to the next piece, obviously the biggest thing is also gonna be lifestyle difference. Like if you're coming from New York State with the cold and stuff like that, you're coming out to San Diego, like you got the beach, you have lakes, spread throughout, and it's a whole different lifestyle. Personally, I feel like people are a lot healthier out here than they would be coming from New York State. A lot more people care about how they look, give or take. That's a whole different talk, but they really care about their fitness and stuff like that and being more proactive. So, like I said, New York City covers the whole gamut of that. But if you're coming from like the state and stuff like that, I feel like people are way more open to making sure they take care of their bodies out here than they do coming from New York. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because like obviously there's a lot of options, but at the same time, like sometimes people push it harder than they need to. So it's a give and take kind of thing. But the lifestyle out here is definitely, it's more relaxed. I mean, it's still city, it's still stressful, people still get freaked out. But when you look at New York City and the stress and people just like don't give a crap about anything. Yeah, in San Diego, they're gonna be a lot friendlier, a lot nicer, a lot more laid back compared to the New York lifestyle. People are a lot more uptight coming from New York. Not so much like middle of the country, but if you're looking at the cities, yeah, huge difference coming out here and seeing that change. And obviously gas is gonna blow you away. It's so expensive. Like it's like $6 a gallon right now at the time of recording this. It's nuts. Absolutely, it's gross, to be honest with you. But it's something that we live with, and I guess in New York it's not too much off. Also, a lot of the laws are the same. Not to touch on a lot of things, but obviously you have the marijuana law is pretty relaxed. I can't remember if New York State ended up doing anything with that, but that's relaxed here. It's legal to a certain limit and amount. You also, like gun laws, I think are pretty similar compared to New York. I mean, one thing that you will see that's different is you can get pistols here. They do have a specified list and only certain types you can get. But unlike New York State, that it was so complicated to get one, if you are looking to do that kind of thing, that is your thing. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more open in terms of getting it, because you don't need an actual pistol permit per se. You do need a background check. Obviously, California is still the strictest when it comes to gun laws in the country, but certain things are more open compared to New York State than you might be used to, or if you're going from New York City, like at all. So it's something to look at. But yeah, laws are pretty similar here in a lot of levels. I was actually kind of surprised at how similar they are to New York State in a lot of ways. and especially when it comes to costs and taxes and just people's mentality. You know, it's not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just letting you know that there were a lot of similarities I noticed, which really surprised me when I came out here, because I thought they were going to be like wildly different, but in reality, they're not too much different. Now, you will find people kind of do their own thing when you leave like San Diego and head more into the desert, because people just kind of want to do their own thing like it would be for the country in New York. So you will see that difference, but in terms of San Diego itself, I think it is a better lifestyle, and like you're living where people vacation. Like you're living next to a beach. It's awesome. You can even go down to the Baja, Mexico, go fishing in the Pacific. You got Tijuana if you want to cross the border, and there's a lot of options for you to enjoy when living in San Diego. So all in all, you know, San Diego and New York share a lot of similarities, but they also have a lot of differences. The biggest one being food. I mean, God, I just miss it a lot. That's like it caused me to make a lot of things at home from scratch, because it's just, you just can't get good food like you can in New York State. Even in the country, they have better pizza and wings and all these options. Also, if you're like really big into beer, so there's one thing obviously we find on the East Coast, and you're gonna know it if you're from New York, whether you drink it or not, but it's Yingling. They don't sell that out here, and there's a lot of other examples of things you just can't find out here that you would be able to find in New York. So just be aware of that when you come out here. It's a completely different coast, and it's expected that it's gonna be differences. Overall though, like you can mitigate that. Like there's ways to get around it and enjoy it. Oh, another thing, San Diego has like a soccer team, but that's it. They don't have any sports teams here. And personally, when I moved here, sports is big everywhere in the United States, but San Diego is definitely not a huge sport place. Like people are just kind of like, they like boxing's huge, like watching boxing events and UFC events are huge. But in terms of like professional sports, I mean, the Chargers left. You know, they have the Padres as well. If you like baseball, obviously your team will be eventually rotate through, and you'll be able to watch them and play the Padres. So that's awesome. You can go down to San Diego and watch that. You can drive to LA or even go to Phoenix or Las Vegas if you want to enjoy sports there. But in terms of being next to like football and hockey, you don't have it. It doesn't exist. So that's something I do miss a lot, especially coming to San Diego. But it's one of those things where like there are ways to get around it. It's just unfortunate that you don't have those two major sports in this city, or even basketball as well, if that's something you're really big into. So that's a big negative for me in a lot of ways. But it is what it is. You just realize that before you move here. So hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. My whole intent is to make sure you get the best assessment when it comes to making the move out here. And as I said before, if you are making the move out here, would love to help you with real estate decisions. The number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me and the team. Call, text, email, whatever you have to do. We have your back when moving to San Diego. We do this every day. We love it. We moved here ourselves. We get how stressful it can be, and I want to make sure that you make the right decision when moving out here. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.